Alrighty, so today we are going to do the review of the first 8 games, and this week is kind of interesting because the first 8 games are all at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. So unofficially, I would just call this video the review of match week number 19, and basically review all the 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, and then of course we'll review the rest of the game tomorrow. And also, if you're wondering where is the NYCFC versus Columbus review that happened on Friday, I already did the review of that, and I definitely highly suggest you watch that review because yeah, that was definitely a heck of a game in terms of what we saw on Friday. But in terms of the Saturday game, not bad at all. I mean, some of these Saturday game were very entertaining, and all of a sudden, some of the teams that are near the bottom of the standings are started winning again and started to get themselves up in the standings. But we start off with the first one, which is Atlanta versus the Houston Dynamo. So this is, of course, the first game under the second term interim head coach Rob Valentino, and I said second term because he was the interim head coach before, and now he gets his second chance, and you would think that this is probably the best opportunity for him to be the head coach, knowing the fact that it seems like it's lining up the fact that Rob Valentino might get the job, considering he's done well at least in his first term. Though that being said, yeah, it definitely did not got off to a good start in this game, and in many ways, I think this game still is a game where you definitely saw some of the pain that Atlanta United gone through near the end of Gonzalo Pineda era. And as I said, that it did not get off to a good start for Rob Valentino taking charge as an interim head coach again, because after Herrera hits it wide from close range, 4 minutes in, Franco Escobar, who only scored one previous goal in this one, and it's a memorable one too, because as Atlanta United fans know, that was the goal to pretty much seal it for Atlanta winning the 2018 MLS Cup against the Portland Timbers. Well, it just happened to be that he scored his second career MLS goal against them. Originally, this was a post that was hit by Dorsey, but it fell right into the path of Escobar. Obviously, he doesn't celebrate against his former teammate. Much respect to him, and I'm pretty sure again that's a bittersweet moment if you're an Atlanta United fan, because I know Atlanta still love Franco Escobar. And that, yeah, that was kind of a bitter pill to swallow, seeing your former player basically scoring not only a goal against you, but literally the first goal that he scored against you, in the first goal he scored since that memorable night that we saw Atlanta winning MLS Cup in 2018 and scoring that second goal against the Timbers. But as I said, it was a nightmare start for Rob Valentino side in his second term as the interim head coach. Though Johnny Silva looked for a response, but he hits it right to counter before Dorsey hits it wide to Guzan. Guzan then denied Bassi, but it recycled, and Carrasquilla would then hits it right to Guzan. Atlanta just looked lost up to this point. And this is kind of the thing when you basically have a new interim head coach coming in. Yes, you of course will get that new interim head coach boost, but you also can have a situation where if a new interim head coach decides to change a lot of things from what the previous head coach has done, yeah, it could get a little bit rough, at least at the beginning. And I think this is kind of the case where it feels like maybe Rob Valentino is trying to change something completely different than what Pineda does, and Atlanta just kind of look lost. And it's been mostly Houston as they push for a second. But as I said that, literally 1 minute after I wrote that, Danny Rios would score here to tie the game up at one apiece, completely against the run of play there, because Houston was dominating this game up to this point. Dorsey then looked to respond, but he was denied by Guzan. I thought the right side was just killing Atlanta. I mean, they just had no answer in terms of dealing with it, at least early on. Then Kuzwechik would miss high from close range, and we do head to halftime with the scoreline tied up at one apiece. Now in the second half, Aliu would hit one right to Guzan. I thought it was another positive start for the Dynamo as they were looking to try to get the lead back. But then on the other end, Clark would absolutely rob Derek Williamson on the header there from a point blank effort. But then just a couple of minutes later, he couldn't do anything about this one, as John De Silva basically roofed this one into the top net from the near post, and really just some questionable defending from Houston in terms of that, the fact that, yeah, John De Silva found himself that much space there in the near post to shoot. But in the 69th minute, Amado would put it wide from long range before Bassi puts it high from long range. Blessing then heads one right to Guzan as Houston was pushing late once again for the equalizer. And this is, if you're Atlanta, knowing that you have had history in terms of giving up late leads, Yeah, you definitely don't want to fall into that habit again, do they? Oh no! In the 89th minute, Latif Blessing scoring from Karaskia and Dorsey to tie the game up at 2 apiece. I believe that's the third goal that Latif Blessing has scored for the Dynamo in the last 4 games. He has definitely been an unexpected impact player for this Dynamo side ever since he signed just a couple of weeks ago. And then in the 8th minute stoppage time, Luke Brennan missed an absolute sitter from 4 yards out. Yeah, that is one that the youngster would love to have back, and that would have been a great moment to score his first career MLS goal on his MLS debut. But that moment also kind of sums up Atlanta's season. I mean, it's been a rough season for Atlanta, and even though with the new interim head coach, it definitely doesn't seem like things are changing up as they draw points in this one. It's a 2-2 draw in this one. That's now one win in the last 12 games for this five stripe team. Shots in this one: 12 shots for the 19 that Dynamo has, 9 shots on goal for the 5 that Atlanta has, 4 shots off target for the 6 that Houston has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Atlanta has in this game. And really, I feel like when you look at the stats, probably the Dynamo will be a little bit more frustrated they didn't get all 3 points, considering they were, I think, the better team in this one. But that being said, I think Ben Olsen team will be happy the fact that his team didn't just let down and just keep fighting there to earn themselves a good point in this one. But for Atlanta, again, it's gonna take a while for this cleanup to happen. But we'll see whether or not things will get a little bit better for this team. They need to start to go on run. It's because their chances of making the playoffs. I mean, it is still there, but it's definitely slipping if they keep drawing games and dropping points like that they have done at home this season. In fact, what is now? This now what 6 games now that Atlanta has gone winless at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That is unheard of. If I would have told you that in the beginning of the season or just a couple of years ago when this team will keep winning every single week at home. That being said, moving on in the next game is Charlotte and DC United. So this was a very Charlotte FC and Dean Smith kind of game. We know what Charlotte is all about. They're a team that is not about how pretty that the soccer that they of course play. They're a team that is kind of a team that is tough to break down and love to grind out 1-0 result. And guess what? It was a 1-0 win for Charlotte in this game against DC. Now, the first shot of the game did see Vargas puts it high from close as there was not much really happen as the shots were only 1-0 through 15 minutes. Stroud then had a shot that was deflected and right to Kalina. Little do we know that was the only shot on goal that DC would had in this game. Vargas would then hits one right to Bono before Stroud puts one right to Kalina. I take that back. That's actually uh, the other shot on goal that DC had, even though technically I don't know why when I look on the league website they counted only one shot on goal for DC, even though technically there should be two. I guess maybe the one that the one that Jared Stroud had that took a deflection and hits right to Kalina probably didn't count as a shot on goal and it probably just count as a block shot. But anyway, Ajiman would then hits it high on the doorstep of goal, and then he missed wide from close range. And I gotta say, for Patrick Ajiman, he's got to bury those chances. And knowing that Charlotte is looming to a dilemma of them potentially getting a DP number 9, yeah, this is a chance where Paji Ajman, his time of really making this Charlotte team know that he is the number 9 that they've been hoping for is running short, because these are kind of chances that they don't put it away. He's gonna play second string once Charlotte does get that number 9 this summer. But there was no doubt that Charlotte was putting some heavy pressure. They were looking for the opener. Diani would puts it high from close range, but then the 7-minute stoppage time, Praveen Vargas would score from Urnin to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead. It was a good delivery there into the box. Vargas was there to meet him. And yeah, that made it 1-0 for Charlotte, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. In the second half, Privet would put it high on the doorstep of goal. Not much really happened in the beginning of the second half. And again, that's by design, because that's what Dean Smith team is all about. They are going to try and to grind out resort and just make it very frustrating for you to break down. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Nashville SC and kind of what Gary Smith team used to do when they take the lead. Though I will say that the difference between Dean Smith and Gary Smith is at least the Charlotte team is not a team that's known to just kind of bunker and hit on the transition as what we've seen with those Nashville team under Gary Smith a couple years ago. Kalina then denied Stroud as the flag went up, and then Vargas would pose it wide from close range, and then Bronico would hit the side netting in the near post as Charlotte was pushing late to try to kill this game off. Vargas then puts it wide from close range, but in the end, Charlotte they hold on to another 1-0 win in this one. Imagine if the Charlotte team actually has a decent attack. If they actually had a decent attack, boy, watch out. This team is definitely going to be a dark horse in the Eastern Conference because this is probably the best defensive team this season, or at least one of the best defensive team with the way that they've been pretty much putting clean sheet left and right. And that's kind of also crazy to see considering last season this was the team that was giving goals for up for fun throughout last season. But the shots in this one, 14 shots for the just 6 that DC had, 1 shots on goal for the 2 that Charlotte has, 8 shots off target for the 2 that DC had, 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that DC had, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that DC has in this game. Safe to say this is probably the one of the worst, if not the worst, performance for DC under Troy Lesesne. And it's not a big surprise considering, whenever you play against Charlotte, it is not easy to break this team down, and there's a reason why again, this team is really a dark horse in the East. I'm surprised not a lot of people have been talking about them to be a dark horse. I mean, yes, I know the attack has been a problem for this team, but hey, if you don't give up goals, you're basically giving your chance to get not only a point but also get all 3 points, and that's exactly what Charlotte and Dean Smith has done, and they've done it really well this season. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. So this game ended in a scoreless draw, though I will say that, there were definitely chances for both of these teams to win, and especially for RSL. And, I know they'll be very frustrated that they didn't get all 3 points in this game, but at least the unbeaten run it continue, and really, this was a game where just one of those days where, even the best team in this league will have these kind of games where they just couldn't find that clinical finishing. But early on, Montreal was on the front foot, though there was no shot for the first 11 minutes. The first shot of the game did see Julio puts it just wide from close. And on the other end, the first shot for Montreal, see Yankov hits one right to McMath. Arango then puts it high from the near post as RSL start to get into this game, and they were actually now leading the shot 4-1 up to this point. Saliba would then puts it wide from long range before Duke missed wide after just a bad turnover from RSL. Ibrahim puts it high from close as Montreal was starting to get some sustained pressure. They were trying to push for the opener, but we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Julio would hit one right to Siwaz, and I thought not much really happened, at least in the beginning of the second half. It feels like there's a lack of rhythm, at least in the second half. There was not really too much pace in this game. That will pick up though, as Inelli would then puts it wide from long range before Luna had a shot that took a deflection and it goes wide. Again, RSL with some sustained pressure. But the problem is they weren't being clinical, and the question is, can they get another one? The ref was then told he sucked after he did not award a corner for Montreal. So that's something you don't usually see happen. I'm pretty sure this is something that probably should happen more often, but yeah, the fans were definitely not happy when they didn't get their first corner of the game up to this point. And then the post would deny Luna after Siwas denied Arango in the near post. So yeah, now it seems like the post is just kind of getting in the way. And that's kind of at this point when I thought that, yeah, maybe this is just one of those games for RSL that they just couldn't finish. They have had these games before, though. Most of those times usually happens at home and not on the road. Siwas then denied Barajas from close range as RSL continued to knock on the door, but the question is, can they find the clinical finishing, which was just not there up to this point? Katrinas would then hit one right to Siwas. The shots were now 18-6 in favor of the visitor in this game, though Lapinainen did hit it just high from close, and then Kokoro would hit it wide or hits it high in the 83rd minute, and near the end, it looked like Montreal were the one that were pushing late to try to get the winning goal, but in the end, it ends in a scoreless draw in this one. Shots in this one, 19 shots for the 11 that Montreal has, 6 shots on goal for the 2 that Montreal has, 6 shots off target for the 4 that RSL had, 3 shots that was blocked for the 7 that RSL had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Montreal has in this game. So again, it's another one of those games where it ends in a scoreless draw because neither of these teams could finish. Though again, I think if you also look at the balance of play, especially look at the stats, I'm pretty sure Problem Australia will be a little bit ticked off the fact that they didn't get all 3 points. Consider I thought that they definitely generated more of the chances, and at time were the better team in this game against Montreal. Now, that being said, moving on in terms of the next match is New England and Vancouver. So remember a couple of weeks ago when the Revs, all that talks about how there's a locker room mutiny that is going on. It seems like Caleb Porter completely lost the locker room and lost the dressing room. Players were complaining, and him also not appearing with the ownership group to a point where it looked like that was kind of the moment that he was going to get fired from this team. Wow, look how things have changed, at least in these next couple of weeks, because ever since that, New England has been on a heater, and they have now looked like the New England team that what we expected this season, and this followed with a good 3-2 victory against the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Harks miss wide from long range. That came in the 4th minute. Before in the 6th minute, Krylik would hit one to Ivicic on the volley. But then in the 7th minute, Noah Buck would score here, and he scored an absolute laser of a goal. You know, when Noah Buck gets on the score sheet, it's gonna be a golazo. He's kind of that Buck bangers only kind of guy, and yeah, he absolutely banged that one to make it 1-0. I said goal of the week with a question mark, though, as we'll probably see a little bit later in this game. We probably know who's gonna win the goal of the week this this week. But that being said, in the 13th minute, and a little foreshadow and a little spoiler, that guy would be the guy that scored the next goal in this game, as Ryan Gaul would pull one back from Brown and Veselinovic to tie the game up at one apiece. And I'll tell you what, I at first I thought that was Brian White that heads that one in, because White is usually the one that is known to head it in instead of Ryan Gaul, but that was Ryan Gaul just being there in the right time to head this one in. Yeah, Ivicic would kind of want to have that one back because he got completely flat-footed in terms so that moment, and it wasn't even really headed that much power to. That is one that, for a goalkeeper like that, you cannot get yourself flat-footed like that. But Vancouver wouldn't care. The game was tied up at one apiece. Barrero looked to answer, but he puts it high. But then in the 21st minute, New England does retake the lead. It's Veroni. He scored from Barrero and Hugh to take the lead back. And again, for Veroni, it's been a rough season for him, but at least he occasionally he does have one of these games where he kind of randomly they score a goal, and you just hope maybe this is finally the moment that he can get things going. But Krylik did look to answer, but he heads that one wide, and I thought it was been back and forth in terms of how this game has had. I mean, I thought this game was relatively even throughout, even though for majority part of this game it was a 3-1 lead for New England. But that being said, in the 35th minute, Ivicic would absolutely rob White on the doorstep of goal, and that was a huge save from Ayaz Ivicic, because just 4 minutes later, Ismail Bajatovic, a couple of weeks after scoring his first goal, he scored his second career goal and second goal of the season, and this one's a little bit fortunate too, because it took a very fortunate deflection, which that's something that the refs just have not had this season, and this is also kind of just a sign that things are turning around, because when you start to have these kind of goal that goes in your way, and you get deflection that goes in your way, your luck is turning around, and things are starting to look good for this Caleb Porter New England side. Berhalter did look to answer on the other end, but he hits it high from long range before Arriaga would hits it right to Takaoka, and we do head to halftime with New England leading 3-1. In the second half, Whitewood hits it wide from close before Berhalter hits it right to Ivicic. I thought the Whitecaps were kind of on the front foot early. They were trying to push one back. Though on the other end, Takaoka denied Barrero, and then Veroni gets a second crack of it, but he flashed that one wide. And then Takaoka would deny Barrero again from close in the 61st. And then he denied Barrero again in the 65th minute. So Dylan Barrero probably might not have a good memory of Yoho Takaoka after this game, because of how many times he was denied by the Whitecaps number one. But the Revs, again, they have come alive. They were now pushing to trying to make it 4-1, really pull this all away this game. Though as soon as I said that, Bovelina would then hit one right to Ivicic before he puts it over from close range. On the other end, Heel would just puts it just wide from close range before Boateng would hit one right to Takaoka, as the Revs, it seems like they were looking to try to put the icing on the cake, trying to get that fourth goal to really pull this game away. But instead, in the 4th minute of stoppage time, Ryan Gold would score his second goal, and this is not only the goal of the week, but maybe in contention for goal of the year, because the fact that he hits this one from about 40 yards out, not the fact that he chipped the goalkeeper, he hits this one with pace and with just so much knuckling in that ball. I mean, what a strike that is from Ryan Gold. I mean, that is probably one of the best best long range effort for the long range strike I have seen in a while. He absolutely tattooed that ball from way out. But unfortunately, that was more of a consolation because it was only 4 minutes stoppage time. And yeah, in the end, New England they do win 3-2 in this game. And like I said, things are looking up for this ref team. I believe this is now three straight win for New England. Um, at least in the last three games. Yeah, things are definitely looking up for a team that, as I said just a couple weeks ago, they were the only team to not break the double digit point mark, and it looked like things were really going to south, and to a point where I even said that it looked like Caleb Porter was a dead man walking in terms of getting fired, and yet even even so even then well, even though when I said that, now we see three head coaches being fired, and somehow Caleb Porter is still there. But the shots in this one: 19 shots for the 14 that Vancouver had, 7 shots on goal for the 8 that Vancouver has, 5 shots off target for the 7 that New England has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 5 that the Revs had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to the 43% possession the Whitecaps has in this game. And yeah, for the Whitecaps, I didn't think they played bad in this one, and again, they had some unfortunate moment, especially the winning goal turns out to be a deflection of a goal, but still, yeah, they didn't play well in terms of defensively in this game, and then going forward, just besides Ryan Gold provide a couple of moment of magic, they just didn't do enough on the attack to try to get themselves in this game. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 4 games to conclude all these 7:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff game as part one of this review of match week number 19. So moving on, we got the Red Bulls and Nashville SC. So this game also ended in a 0-0 draw, but this is a game that, yeah, the Red Bulls, they absolutely should have won this game. I mean, this was just them completely dominated this game against Nashville and had just so many chances. But Joe Willis stole a point in this game for Nashville, and also not to mention, yeah, Red Bulls fan will not want to hear the word disallow goal after this game, because there were a couple of time that happened in this one. Now, in the first half, unsurprisingly, not much really happened, at least in the first 10 minutes of this game. And I say that is because, Red Bulls game, usually at the beginning, things can get a little bit testy. Not really much has happened. Though, I feel like this season, that's kind of a little different. It feels like maybe the games are starting to be a little bit faster compared to previous time, where Red Bulls game always tends to be a slog, at least in the beginning. Though, in the 11th minute, Harper did put the ball into the back net. Problem was, the flag did not agree with him. So yeah, the goal, of course, was disallowed for offside. Van Zier then hits the side netting off of a deflection before Harper hits it right to Willis, as the Red Bulls were definitely pressing to try to get the opening goal. Willis then denied Van Zier, and on the second in effort, Nealis put this one into the back net. Problem was, this goal didn't count because they did go to VAR to see whether or not, as Nealis controlled this one, did he handball it? He did. So yeah, that goal was disallowed in this one, and that's now 2 goals that they've been disallowed, at least in the first 25 minutes, and that wouldn't be the last one too. Amaya then hits one right to Willis. It's been all Red Bulls up to this point, but the problem is they just couldn't find that clinical finishing. And can they do so at least in the remaining of the half? Well, Noah Elise tried to do so, but he hits it wide from close, and Nashville would actually finish the half, failed to register a single shot. Like, they were completely dominated in the first half, and yet somehow they head to halftime with a 0-0 scoreline against the Red Bulls. Now, in the second half, the first shot of the game did see Mukhtar hits this one close, and that turned out to be the first shot for Nashville in this one. This will be first of 6 shots that Nashville would get in the entire game. Manuel would then pulls it high from long range before Willis denied Manuel on the doorstep of goal. Willis then denied Nealis on the header in the 57th minute. Again, the Red Bulls were pushing for the lead, but the question is, can they beat Willis? Because Willis, up to this point, we have seen before in previous season where Joe Willis can definitely stand on his heads and steal points for Nashville, and we're starting to see it again. He's kind of the reason why the Red Bulls hasn't scored. And then in the 71st minute, it looked like Manuel scored. Problem was, the flag did not agree with him and did not agree with the Red Bulls again, because it was disallowed for offside. It's the third goal that the Red Bulls has had that was disallowed for offside, and up to this point, that's when I basically wrote, yeah, it's one of those night for the Red Bulls, isn't it? Where they're just getting absolutely blue ball because of goals being disallowed, and just doesn't seem like they're going to score. Well, Van Zier did had a chance there from point blank effort, but he completely whips it. It's been a rough going for Dante Van Zier. Ever since his promising start of the season, yeah, he's kind of revert back to 2020 free form of just not doing anything and missing everything. And that included in the 81st minute when he missed wide in the front post. Amaya then puts it wide from long range, as Nashville was clearly playing for a no draw up to this point. They were just putting a low block and pray that they can hold on to this win. And again, the Red Bulls were piling on the pressure, actually not for the equalizer, but actually trying to win this game. LA then heads it wide from close in the 87th minute for Van Zier, would also miss wide from close range. And yeah, in the end, despite just boatload of chances that the Red Bulls had in this game, it ended scoreless between them and Nashville. And the shots of this one, 22 shots compared to just 6 that Nashville has. 1 shot on goal for the 5 that the Red Bulls had. 5 shots off target for the 3 that Nashville has. 12 shots that was blocked in this game compared to the 2 that Nashville has. So anytime when you had 12 shots it is blocked, you know that the opposition defense definitely had a field day in terms of closing down those shots. Though some of those shots that was blocked that counted was actually deflected. But in terms of possession, 53% possession compared to 47% possession the Red Bulls has in this game. And like I said, for the Red Bulls, they would be absolutely kicking themselves that they didn't get all 3 points in this game, especially against a lowly Nashville side, and knowing that this season they've been very good when it comes to playing against teams that are not doing very well at home. This absolutely should be 3 points, and they hope that this does not come back to haunt them later in the season when they do need the points. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. Speaking of a team that is looking for points, yeah, Orlando is trying to do so because yeah, points has definitely been hard to come by, especially at home this season, and that kind of continued in this game against LAFC. I mean, I don't think anyone are surprised the fact that Orlando didn't get a win in this one, because they're facing against probably the hottest team right now in the league, that is this LAFC, and a team that is basically reminding everybody that yeah, they're they're still the team to beat in the West. And they get a 3-1 result in this one, despite the fact that they did finally concede a goal for the first time in 6 games. Now, in the 11th minute, the first shot of the game did see Ladero hits it onto the roof of the net. The shots were only 2-0 for Orlando, as really not much happened early in this one. The first shot for LAFC did see Kamara hits it wide from close before Tillman hits one right to Stadahire in the 31st minute. And then a penalty was given to Orlando as Atuesta brought down Torres in the box. So here comes Facu Torres, the guy that, he's been having a lot of trouble in terms of finishing in front of net, and really just been having just an absolute horrendous season. And he missed it wide from the spot. Yeah, that kind of sums up Facu Torres' season, in that he just cannot buy a goal right now, even from the spot now, and that's definitely going to go down as one of the worst penalty kick miss that we've seen this season. And it's just a classic example when you see a guy that clearly have zero confidence in front of goal right now. In the 42nd minute, Bawanga would put it wide on the free kick before right on the stroke of halftime. The penalty was given to LAFC this time after Arujo brought down Bawanga in the box. Bawanga, of course, wins the penalty. He takes the penalty, and he's not going to miss. And he buries that one to give LAFC a 1-0 lead. And we head to that with that scoreline in the second half. In the second half, Bogusz would puts it high from long range before Torres tried to toe poke this one in, but this is Facu Torres. He's not allowed to score a goal this season. He couldn't quite do so, and then he hits it wide from close in the 57th minute. And I thought Orlando started to control this game, but the problem is they weren't creating any clear-cut chances. Most of these chances were pretty easy for LAFC, and hasn't really troubled Lloris whatsoever. That all changed though in the 68th minute when Ojeda would score from Montreal to tie the game up at 1 apiece. That is the first goal that LAFC has conceded in 570 plus minutes. They have not conceded a goal in the last 5 games. It finally came to an end, but it didn't really trouble them because they would retake the lead 12 minutes later as Meti Bogusz would score from Bawanga to make it 2-1 in favor of LAFC, and then Bawanga basically shut the door here. He scored from Odas to make it 3-1 in this one. And by the way, this came off of a lightning counterattack from LAFC. I mean, that's kind of just sums up what LAFC is all about. When you are allowing LAFC to go quickly on the transition and allow them space like that, yeah, it's game over for you. And that's kind of the case for Orlando too, because another loss at home this season. That's been kind of a regular occurrence this year for the Lions. But the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 19 that Orlando City has. But here's the problem: only one of them is on goal. Again, that just also kind of shows you a team that is lacking confidence in front of goal, as this is a team that also have been struggling to score a goal. And that only shot on goal was actually the goal that was scored by Ojeda. Compared to the 7 that LAFC had, 5 shots off target for the 9 that Orlando City has, 8 shots that was blocked for the none that LAFC had. And possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that LAFC has. And while LAFC continue to march their way toward the top of the standings, and I would not be surprised. It's going to be any games now that they could take over that top spot, because I know RSO is still doing very well, but they getting that draw against Montreal definitely does not help their cases when LAFC is literally right behind them. Yeah, I would not be surprised if this team could finish first. And again, once again, this could be the team to beat in the Western Conference. It kind of started to look like the new Seattle and Portland Timbers in the West, and I'm pretty sure the West does not want to see another Portland and Seattle dominance that we have seen uh for pretty much ever since 2014. I mean, it was good to see that LAFC finally broke that Cascadia chokehold, but it's definitely not great to see the fact that they're started to winning the West, and every team in the West are probably a little annoying. The fact that LAFC keep finishing near the top of the standings, and probably is going to be once again favorites of going all the way, and maybe even going to 3 straight MLS Cup, which is something we haven't seen very often in MLS history. Now, moving on, in terms of the next game, is the Union and Inter Miami. And I gotta say, Inter Miami this season, they're a definition of just, they simply cannot keep getting away with this, because this was a game where the Union had not only a man up in this game, but they had 2 men up in this game. They were definitely pushing to try to get the win, and yet they lose this game, and they lose this game in a way where they conceded the goal when they were up 2 men in this one, and when Miami were down to 9 men, and even at point were down to 8 men because of injuries. Though it didn't turn out to be that, at least early on, because early on it looked like the Union could be getting a big win in this one. As just 2 minutes in, Mikael Uru, he scored from Glasnes to give the Union a 1-0 lead. It was a nice through ball there, but where in the world is the Miami defense? I mean, we talk about Miami struggles in terms of their defense these last couple of weeks. I have a feeling that's going to continue, especially next week, where, oh boy, it's going to be interesting to see who they are going to feel in terms of the back line, because they were already short in terms of the back line. They're going to be even more shorter because of the guys that I'll mention that got sent off in this game for this Inter Miami side. But yeah, just horrendous defense in there from Inter Miami. And yeah, the Union were leading 1-0. Sullivan would then puts it wide as he was in on goal. And again, Miami just had no answer in terms of those direct ball that the Union put, at least early in this one. Flock would then puts it high from close range. And I also thought that despite Miami dominate possession, they clearly were missing the goal, pulling the string on the attack. I mean, if the goal was actually here pulling the string on the attack and doesn't make that attack predictable, maybe Miami would have had a pulse. But it was pretty sad to see how they were just getting all the possession. They just don't know what to do with ball whatsoever. And that's also going to be a problem that they're going to have to continue to face throughout these next month uh, or so. But in the 35th minute, Bedoya just missed wide on the header, and 36 minutes in, Miami has yet to register a shot. They probably saw that because they finally registered the first shot in the 41st minute, although it was not a clear-cut chance, as Wenger pretty much put up a prayer kind of a ball there, and then it was just easy catch there from Oliver Simla. And yeah, we head to halftime with the Union leading 1-0, them pretty much dominating this game. Well, that was about to change heading into the second half, because in the second half of only the second shot of the game, Julian Gressel would score from Kamaski to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And then Campana would miss wide from close in the 51st minute, and Miami just completely changed the momentum. They looked like they have finally woke up in the second half, and they were knocking on the door to take the lead. And again, this is what happened when you're facing against an Inter Miami side, where you have to uh, take advantage of the chances that you get. And I know that they were missing their best player in this game, but still, this is a team that, as I said, they are the definition of simply, they just simply cannot keep getting away with with the amount of time that they should be losing a game, and yet they find some uh some some black magic to basically pull a resort out of their rabbit hat. But I also thought the Union was getting pinned deep, and unfortunately, unlike in the first half, where at times they were kind of pinned deep, they just could not play those outlet ball compared to what we saw in the first half. Though they did get a boost in the 69th minute as David Ruiz would get his second yellow card off the game, so Miami was down to 10 men. Flock would then puts it wide from long range before Kamaski hits one that clips the post in the 82nd minute. Calendar would then deny Donovan from close range, and I also thought that the game started to kind of open up as both of these teams were looking for the winner. And in the 85th minute, the Union would hand in another big opportunity to get that winner when Thomas Alvarez would get himself a second yellow card, and it was a silly second yellow. I mean, just kicking the ball away. How many times we have seen this season where players get sent off because of doing that? You know the league is basically being serious in terms of cracking up down on that, and yeah, just like that, the Union were up 2 men. Miami were down to 9 men, and again, at the point of this game, they were down to 8 men because of injury. But that doesn't matter because again, Miami they always have some black magic in their hand, and it happened in the fourth minute as Leo Afonso scored his second career MLS goal from Bright to give the lead for Inter Miami, and again, just against all odds, and a goal that, by the way, was very similar to the first goal of this game. It was just basically a through ball that somehow how Alfonso was playing behind the defense, and yeah, just like that made it 2-1. And I talk about how embarrassing the defense was in that first goal that Miami give up. I feel like this is even more embarrassing for the Union. Like, how in the world do you let a breakaway goal happen when you're literally up 2 men in this game and against a team that is down to 9 men? It's absolute inexcusable defending. Glesnes did look to try to answer, but he misfired from off of a deflection. I was actually surprised there was not more booze in the stands as well. Maybe that's probably the reason why is because there was a lot of casual probably attending this game. Because yeah, I guarantee if there was not a lot of casual in this game, there would be a chorus of booze in this one. Because yeah, this is definitely going to go down as one of the most embarrassing losses that the Union has ever had under Jim Curtin. They lose 2-1 in this one, despite the fact that they had a 2-man advantage in this game and gave up a goal when they had 2-man advantage. And the shots in this one, 20 shots for the 10 that Miami has. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 9 shots off target for the 3 that Miami has, 2 shots that was blocked for the 7 that the Union has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession the Union has in this game. And I know there's going to be people that's gonna say, "Oh, this is definitely rake for Miami, isn't it?" Well, you can say that, but you can also blame the Union and just kind of blame the fact that how in the world do you go up 2 men and still lose the game and give up a goal when you're down to 9 men, especially when you let a breakaway goal when you're up 2 men like that. That should never happen in an MLS game. And again, I don't know where the Union can go after this resort. This is kind of a resort that can really just take the soul out of the team, and we know this is a team that's already struggling right now. This is definitely they just adding insult to injury to a point where the Union's got some big questions that they're gonna have to ask in the summer, and especially with the way that it seems like the Carranza rumor is indeed going to be true. And if he leaves, I mean that takes a huge part of this attack, and you just wonder, is this it for the Union? Are they really they started to take down the core and go through a bit of a rebuilding process heading into the remaining part of the season, and even especially heading into the off season as well. But that being said, moving on into the last match on this board is Chicago and Toronto FC. So if you notice throughout this video, I haven't mentioned the fact that I got this new Chicago Fire Fanatics t-shirt, and that this is actually a very cool t-shirt. I mean, it has the logo there. It also has the Chicago flag as well. Obviously, the logo is a heavy inspiration of the flag of Chicago. But yeah, for the Fire, it seems like their cycle of them getting on a heater in the summer is started to come, because yeah, all of a sudden the Fire has been unbeaten in the last 4 games. I mean, I did say before, and I'm pretty sure Fire fans kind of knows this, that yeah, it looks like we're in that cycle of Chicago Fire pain of them now usually getting off to a slow start, but usually right around this part of the time, that's when they start winning games and started give maybe false hope to Fire fans that maybe this is finally the season they can break out. Now in the first half, by the way, I want to mention Toronto was wearing white in this one, and Chicago was wearing red. That just looked all out of sort because usually Toronto is the one that is wearing red, and I understand that Chicago, of course, is wearing their classic red jersey, but it just kind of doesn't work very well when you're playing against a team where their primary color is red, and TFC usually is a team that doesn't wear their away jersey when they're playing at BMO Field, and it's again it feels weird to see that happen. But in the third minute, Kerr would heads it wide from close range before Gavron would deny Kuipers from close. Aragoni would then puts it high from long range before Longstaff would puts it wide from close, as I thought both of these teams with some good early chances and were looking for the opener. Kuipers would then hits one into the side netting before Gavron denied Haile Selassie from long range. Kerr would then hits one right to Brady, and then Insigne would hits one right to Brady in the 38th minute. So this was definitely a game that was not because of lack of chances. There was definitely a lot of chances, and I would also say that I think the scoreline at times kind of flattered with the way that Toronto did have their moments in this one, but they also have some bad defending moment, and yeah, this was one of them. As Haile Selassie would score from Herbert to give the Fire a 1-0 lead, but that lead were very short lived because just 3 minutes later, Insigne would score from Bertretta to tie the game up at one apiece. Originally, the goal was disallowed for offside, but they did go to VAR to see if that is not the case. It wasn't, so the ruling was overruled. But I'm pretty sure Chris Brady wished that the ruling wasn't overruled because yeah, that is one that Chris Brady has had a great season this year for the Fire, and he's been having a great season for the past couple of years, taking over Gaga Solino role between the stake, but this is one that he would love to have back, and one that he does not want to look at. I mean, just one that he did make a say in terms of it, but just unable to push it far away, and then it just trigger into the back of the net. But yeah, we that ties the game up at one apiece, and we head to halftime with that scoreline tied at one. In the second half, though, Haile Selassie would puts it high from close range, as I thought the Fire was back on the front foot. They were looking to try to get the lead back, and they do. As Hugo Kuipers in the 56th minute would score here to make it 2-1 in favor of Chicago. Say what you say, but Hugo Kuipers are sneakily starting to have a good season. Now, is he having a season that you expect when you pay a guy that is 7-figure, or actually 8-figure, that is, because they pay more than 10 plus million? Maybe not. I mean, he's still got a way to there, but he has definitely quietly started to score goals and started to do the things that he was paid to do. And yeah, he scored here again to make it 2-1 for Chicago. They would make it 3-1 not long after, as Pineda would score from Gutierrez and Haile Selassie to make it 3-1. By the way, the Kuiper goal, it was an absolute gift here from Kevin Long. I mean, just give the ball away in the worst spot possible. Kuipers were in on goal. And then the one that they conceded with Pineda's goal was very similar. It came off of a bad turnover from Toronto. We saw a lot of very similar kind of thing that is the reason why TFC just had a disastrous season last year. Just those turnovers are just killing this team time and time again last season, and it was kind of the story once again this game. Insigne then looked to answer, but his free kick was denied by Brady, and then the post would deny Kuiper of a fourth goal. And then really, as the game goes along, you can kind of see that Toronto just basically waved the white flag. It just doesn't seem like they have much left a fight in this game. And in the 89th minute, Chicago doesn't seem like they care about that white flag. They would add a fourth here, as Aragoni would score from Herbert and Jimenez to make it 4-1 in favor of the Fire. And it was almost 5-1 as Gutierrez was in on goal there, but Gavron was able to deny him there. And yeah, in the end, a 4-1 win for the Fire. They get their first road win of the season, and it's definitely one of the more impressive road win that the Fire has had in recent memories. But the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 15 that the Fire has, 8 shots on goal for the 6 that Toronto has, 3 shots off target for the 4 that TFC had, 5 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Fire has, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to the 39% possession that the Fire has in this game. And I know a lot of Fire fans will say that this is part of the cycle. I'm not gonna really want to make this as a belief that they're gonna do well, because once the summer is over, this is when the Fire start to collapse. But really, just for the sake of change of narrative, because I know there's always narrative in MLS and really just narrative in sports, but all narrative eventually has to end. Maybe this is going to be finally the time the Fire can finally end that cycle of pain, and that maybe this good run that they're on is not really just fool's gold. Maybe they will go on an incredible full run. And keep in mind, they're doing this without Xherdan Shaqiri, and I'm pretty sure every fans can tell you that it's pretty clear that Xherdan Shaqiri is not only holding this team back, but yeah, he's definitely started to turn out to be one of the bigger busts in MLS history. And now it seems like there could be a case where he could be gone with the way that Shaqiri have said that he want to go back to Europe. And I'm pretty sure Fire fans and maybe even this ownership group on this front office management will take the first offer if they can do, because it is pretty clear that they play much better. And it's not the first time this season. It has happened the last couple of seasons that they play so much better without Shaqiri in the 11 compared to when he's on. And again, I think the only reason why Shaqiri is still getting regular minutes is that you can't just simply bench a guy that is making 8 point something million, something around that line. That's definitely not a good look in terms of your the way that you sign players. But yeah, again, the Fire's definitely heating up. You can't say the same for Toronto. Again, this felt like a very similar performance that they had last season, and that's gonna happen. I mean, as good as a season that TFC and John Herman has put, they still have these kind of games where they look like they were back to 2023, look like the worst team in the league, and that will happen when you go through a deep rebuild, as Toronto is definitely incurring right now. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at these 8 games that kicked off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Tomorrow we're going to be looking at the last 5 games of the review, including the two teams that I root for that had a bit of a rough week this week, to say the least. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.